Hello everybody, this is Kris Johnson at the weekly roundtable session at NASCARScenedaily.com. Today I've got with me Lee Montgomery and Jared Turner. And we're here to talk about the, I guess, just the good and the bad of the economy. Maybe the good, depending on how you look at this, is the rise in the number of upstart teams this year. And I know Jared's got a healthy list over there to talk about, so let's get right to it.
It's a growing list.
Yeah.
I tell you what, Prism Motorsports with Terry Labonte running the Daytona 500 and Dave Blaney jumping in that seat after that. Scott Riggs at the new Tommy Baldwin Racing. John Andretti's planning to make a Daytona 500 start in a fourth Earnhardt Ganassi car. Joe Nemechek with his own Nemco Motorsports team. Jeremy Mayfield with his own Mayfield Motorsports team. Like I said, it just keeps growing and growing.
Is this a good thing?
The only problem with it, I think it is a good thing. The only problem with it is, do these teams have enough staying power, or are they going to be fly-by-night, start-and-park teams? And if they are, then it's not a good thing. If we're going to have 5 or 6 of these guys show up every week, qualify, make a race, and then drop out after the first lap, then that's definitely not a good thing for NASCAR. It's sort of a sham on the competition side of things.
I think the new reality being what it is out there, I'm looking at a guy like Boris Said, his No Fear Racing team that tries to run 4 races each year. He tries to run, the Daytona 500, another plate race, and the 2 road course races. For a guy like him, who does plan to run the Daytona 500, or at least attempt to qualify for it in what will be the '08 car, it's a chance at a nice payday. And I think that's obviously the incentive for a lot of these guys to start the season. You're starting out with your marquee event in the Daytona 500. That's a big carrot out there.
Yeah. I mean, I sort of err on the side that it's better to have 50 cars, period, whether they start and park or not. I mean, I just think the more cars you have, the better. The more exposure, the more teams, the more storylines.
Yeah. Well, the other thing, too, and I look at a guy like Bill Elliott this year, the Wood Brothers have 9 races sponsored by Motorcraft. They plan to run 12. It's not a full season, but I also think that this could be a good thing in the long run. It gives them more time to focus on each race on their calendar, and it's going to be a heavy emphasis on the intermediate tracks where Bill has done well historically. But I think that maybe could be the new model in these tough economic times.
It could go back to like it kind of was in the 70s, where a lot of the bigger teams would pick and choose the race they wanted to go to. Daytona, Charlotte, Texas, Indy. Maybe they'll just go to those tracks and try to get a payday. The only problem with that, again, is this issue of start and park guys. And I got a feeling that after the 500, if some of these teams don't make the race, then they therefore don't get the big payday. Maybe they won't start. They'll stop showing up every week, and then they'll drop by the wayside and we'll have sort of the same problem. I also think we're going to probably see a cycle of this throughout the year. We'll have 2 or 3 of these teams show up every so often, and then drop away and never to be heard from again.
Right.
So I'd like to think that it is definitely a good time for a guy to get into sport as an owner, to pick up some talent, because the market is flooded with all these employees that were let go at the end of last year, and teams can sort of pick and choose who they want. And if a businessman is smart, he can make a decent race team for a lot less money than he could last year.
Yeah, and the other thing from a sponsorship standpoint, this is a great time for companies out there that might not have huge budgets to dip their toe in the water. If you're on the track for the Daytona 500, that is national exposure for your brand, for your product, whatever it might be. So we're trying to look on the bright side here. Anything else you got?
I just think it says a lot about how much teams want to compete. That as recently as a month ago, we were talking about not having 43-car fields, and while that's still a possibility,
right.
I think there's a greater possibility that there could be a lot of weeks where we do have 43-car fields this season.
Yeah, and that remains to be seen. But until next time, thanks for joining us. We will see you in the future at SceneDaily.com.